everyone. I'm so happy to have you along for a cup of tea and that you've joined me for the next 30 minutes or so in a talk that I know that's going to be really helpful for either you or for someone in your life that you know and love. I'm Rebecca McQueen. I'm from Breastfeeding Australia, and I'm so excited today to be joined by an incredibly qualified and experienced women's health professional to speak about a topic that can cause much angst, anxiety, and even tears: breastfeeding. So please let me introduce my wonderful guest, Maree Saines. Maree is a midwife. She's a maternal and child health nurse and a lactation consultant for her own breastfeeding consultancy based in the Macedon Ranges in Victoria, LacCon. Maree has been working with women and new families for over 15 years and is one of the most passionate people I know about making the road to parenthood a positive one. Welcome, Maree.
Hi, Beck. Thank you. That's a lovely introduction. It's great to be here.
It's so good to have you, and everything I said is completely true. You've been working in the maternal and child health industry now for such a long time, and I know you've got so much to offer. So today, over this cuppa and a chat, I'm keen to find out what it is that you believe are the things that women need to know about breastfeeding before their baby is born to set them up on the strongest path possible if their goal is to breastfeed. So shall we dive in?
Yeah, let's go.
Great. I think the first question I'm really keen to know is, why is it you think that so many women struggle with breastfeeding when their baby arrives?
I think, look, I think society doesn't do us any favours these days. I think we don't grow up watching other women breastfeed. The first time we actually see a woman breastfeed is usually when we're handed our own babies, and it's like, there you go, off you go. We do a lot of preparation in relation to preparing for labour and birth, which is great. But women just seem to forget that you do need to learn and get an understanding around what's involved with breastfeeding. Yes, it is the most natural way to feed your baby, but it doesn't always just magically happen. It's a learned skill between mother and babe.
You know, there's a saying that I really love in that awareness is 80% of the journey. And I think that if women are aware that it's not something that's innate and it's a talent, it's a learned skill, that's such an important point, and will really help women go easier on themselves around this, around breastfeeding, which is an emotional thing and it's a physical skill that needs to be learned. And that reframing can be so important to know. What do you think are some of the other things that women can do to prepare themselves before their baby arrives?
I think knowledge is power, Beck. I think you really have to grab some research, attend a class at your local hospital. They usually run an antenatal breastfeeding class. Talk to other women that have got a breastfeeding history. Find out, some of their trials and tribulations. Do some reading. Have a look on the Raising Children website. It's got some amazing videos, just like 2-minute videos watching real women breastfeed real babies. And that can give you a really good insight. Seek out help from a lactation consultant, particularly in the early days, post-birth, I recommend. Just surround yourself with like-minded people that are going to support your decision to breastfeed your baby. But really, knowledge up before that baby comes.
So you mentioned that there's some great resources that are there for families even before baby's born. What is it that you think that women need to really know about their own bodies before, and when I say that, I mean how their bodies provide that milk for their babies?
I think it's really important that women understand that physically, that very, very, very rarely are women unable to produce enough milk for their baby. That the body is designed to breastfeed. So a woman will make enough milk for what her baby requires at any given moment in time throughout their growth and development. Breastfeeding is very much based on the supply-demand principle. The amount of milk that your baby takes from you is what is replaced. So it's really important that women understand that their bodies will give them exactly what their baby needs.
I remember when Jock was born, my first very big boy, and he was, people would say to me, oh, he's not getting enough. How do you know if he's getting enough? And I then got worried that he wasn't getting enough, and some encouraged me to breastfeed and bottle feed just to ensure that he was. It was really confusing for me. as I know it is for many women, what is the main thing that we need to know in ourselves that our babies are getting enough?
That's a really valid point, Beck, and it's a really, really common concern for lots of women because we can't measure what comes out of the breast. You know, there's no little gauge on the side like there is perhaps in a bottle. But I always say to women, one, you know, really trust your own instinct, back yourself, know that your body will do what it's designed to do. But look at your baby. You know, if you've got a baby that is doing 6 to 8 wet or dirty nappies in a 24-hour period, as he gets bigger, he or she gets bigger, the nappies are going to get heavier. He's putting on weight, but he's generally settled from one feed to the next, meaning you can wrap him up and put him down and all his needs are being met. There's your answer. You are making enough milk for your baby. I think what I really try to get women to focus on is not rushing through breastfeeding. I think we all make that mistake of thinking, I'll just quickly give this baby a feed and then I'll rush off and I'll do something else. Breastfeeding is one of the very few moments where no one else can do that for your baby, but also it's one of those rare moments where you get to stop and sit down and really just be present and enjoy your baby. I like to encourage women to really allocate a good hour to feed a newborn baby. And that kind of shocks people. They think, oh my God, an hour. But a newborn baby is going to be stopping and starting and feeding and pooing and all sorts of things. So it prolongs that experience. And I think often we think, like bottle feeding, they're just going to slam it down and we're done. Breastfeeding takes a lot longer. A baby uses a lot more energy and they get a lot more sleepier and they need a little bit more encouragement in those early days and weeks when they're just learning to breastfeed. That was a really long question. I don't know whether I answered that at all. That was a really long answer. I don't know whether I answered that, Beck, but yeah.
You definitely did. And it's reminded me of something that I read in the week that compared a full-time job to breastfeeding a baby for 12 months. And the stat was essentially saying that if you decide to exclusively breastfeed your baby for 12 months, it's the equivalent of a full-time job in hours that it will take without the leave.
Yeah.
Minus 3 weeks leave. I went, oh, it's a great point for women who sometimes can feel a little bit like when they get asked the question, oh, what are you doing all day? You know, you're just looking after a baby. So, well, you don't ask that of someone who's doing a full-time job. So that taking that blame off yourself for not being productive enough or not getting things done around the house when you're breastfeeding, or all those little, you know, quietly just judging comments about you if you're breastfeeding. It's really important for women to know before they go into that. I think that treat it like it's a full-time job if you're going to do it. And what are your thoughts on that?
Totally agree. It does. It's a job that requires a lot of commitment initially in those early weeks. But it's certainly a job that has a lot of rewards and benefits to it. And I think that, you know, women need to remind themselves of the benefits to their baby. One of the ones that springs to mind at the moment is particularly the immunity protecting factors that breast milk is custom made for your baby. You're protecting your baby as it makes that transition from in utero to the big outside world, from all the nasty bacteria and viral infections that are around. A breastfed baby comes out armed and ready to go and combat it as it, you know, gets in contact with those viruses.
When my Jocko was born, and I breastfeed both my kids for 12 months, but I have to say it was really tough going. And the only reason I stuck with it was because my best mate, who now lives away, but she was there and she gave me one-on-one support through those weeks of learning how to breastfeed. And without her support and that education, I would not have got there because it was really hard. So I think the reason I want to share that story is because it is about finding the right people who can help you, and you sitting at home trying to nut it out yourself when you've got a baby screaming at you, so stressful. So any education you can do beforehand is gold, but it's then also finding that support later on down the track when you need it. I know not everyone's got a best friend who's a midwife, but yeah, it's so important to women to take that blame off themselves. I think that it's, oh, I can't do it, other people can, but I can't. Well, it's just that maybe other people have got more family around them, or they've got, they've tapped into those resources that are out there. So that was my point. And then I just rambled, but now let's get back on track, unless there's anything you wanted to say about that. So what do you think, what are the other tips that you would give breastfeeding mums that are out there watching this webinar right now, or mums who are thinking of breastfeeding? What are the top tips for them?
So knowledge up, which we've already discussed, access some resources and community supports. They are there. And one in particular that I'm thinking of is the Raising Children videos, which I spoke about. There's a great online support called Mum to Mum, and it's a phone service where you can ring up another breastfeeding mum who's done a special course that can counsel you and talk you through whatever crisis you're having at that given moment. That's a particularly good one. So knowledge up, get some information, take some pressure off. You know, don't put too much pressure on yourself to get it right first thing. Not every woman masters breastfeeding within, 24 hours. It takes, I say, it takes at least 4 to 6 weeks to really establish a good breastfeeding pattern. It gives your baby an opportunity to really master it. Remember, the baby's also learning a new skill. The baby's born with this innate sucking reflex, but that's it. You know, your baby doesn't know to hold its head up and drive in with its chin or any of that sort of stuff. Your baby has to learn that along with you. The other thing I'd probably say is don't rush feeding. That's the biggest thing I see. Women just feeding their babies for just a short feed, like a 5 or 10 minute breastfeed for a newborn baby is just not enough. And you'll find that baby will always be in a state of hunger. They'll get a little bit of the formula, which is enough to kind of quench their thirst and take the edge off their hunger, but they're never really satisfied and they're never really settled. And this is where mums find that they're kind of chasing their tail a little bit. They're just not allocating that time. So I would say to a new mum, sit down, give yourself a good hour to, I'm going to breastfeed this baby. Let the whole world pass by. Have your glass of water, your book, your phone, whatever, and just be. And take your time as you breastfeed this baby and give your baby the best opportunity to fully drain that breast before you rip them off or change the nappy or do anything else.
There's such great things to know before you have your baby there who's hungry, and then you go looking for information. That information is just so valuable. And as I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm sure that many women might be thinking, I wish I had a Maree around that I could just call. With your private consultancy business, I know that you see women locally here in the Macedon Ranges, but with the wonders of technology, with Zoom that we're using today, or with Skype, or what are your thoughts on maybe getting this type of education online like this? And would you be willing to do something like this if a woman wanted it?
That's a really good point again, Beck. This is something that's pretty new to me, this Zoom process, but I had an experience, well, Leo's nearly 2 now, but about 2 years ago, a girlfriend of mine in Queensland who didn't want to breastfeed rang me maybe 5 minutes after a baby was born to say, oh, he's actually attaching to the breast, and showed me on her phone how Leo was feeding. And so from that moment on, she would ring me several times a day, and I would talk her through with, her showing me her breast and his mouth and everything with her phone. And I talked her through breastfeeding. She didn't breastfeed her first 2 children. She said she didn't want to breastfeed Leo. And I was like, whatever, as long as you feed your baby, keep your baby happy, you're happy, that's fine. And I never put any pressure on her at all to breastfeed. And the support that I was able to give her just through phone and video was fantastic. And she just enjoyed it so much so that she was a little bit sad when he kind of turned around about 10 months and said, yeah, Mum, I'm done here. She went through a little bit of a, meltdown, like, oh my God, I'm not ready to give it up yet. But, we talked her through that too. So it is possible, my point being, it is possible to get that support from a lactation consultant just using this media that we're doing now. And it's really quite easy. And I'm learning that as we speak. But yeah, it's accessible, and something that I'd be really keen to pursue with women, especially if it makes it more accessible to them.
think that's amazing, particularly for women who live remotely. So let's put your details on my website, LacCon details, and women can contact you via your website, and you can talk about how that might work for them and for you, and off you go from there. So that would be a really great outcome if someone was to say, yeah, I need that help, I don't know where to get it. There's one resource, but remembering too, there's all those other things that you've talked about earlier, and they will also be listed on the handy contacts page of the Birth Sense Australia website. So there's some resources out there that maybe you didn't know about before, but hopefully you've got a bit more awareness around now. I'm really fumbling on my words today. Blah. Sorry, everyone. So I guess that might finish us off, unless you want to say anything more, Maree, to add anything else?
I've spoken quite a bit and I've kind of rambled a bit. Look, it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I really think that most women, if not all women, can breastfeed if they just have the right support. They just need to believe in themselves and have faith in their ability to breastfeed, and surround themselves with people that are going to encourage them and support them. The research shows us clearly that if a woman's husband in particular says, you know, you're doing a great job, keep going with breastfeeding, they will breastfeed. If her husband's standing there going, I'll give the baby to me, it needs a bottle, that will totally undermine a woman. So I think that just by being around other women or other support people, it doesn't have to be another woman, but having good support around you is essential. The other thing I just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware of as well, Beck, is the Lacan's website, which is the Lactation Consultant Australia New Zealand website. If you go onto that website, put in your postcode, you can get a lactation consultant to come and see you in your area. If that works for you. If it doesn't, you can always contact me and we can do some Zoom consultancy, which would be great.
I love it. I will be putting all of those resources on my handy contacts page, which is getting bigger by the day. And I think that's the best thing, is to make people aware of what's out there, and then they can tap into whatever suits them and works for them. And that's the name of the game, is to just create that awareness. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Ben. It's been a pleasure.
It's been great, and it's been incredible information, and I know it's going to help some new mothers who are looking for some solid advice from an experienced professional and a beautiful mother too. So thanks for your time and your generosity of spirit for agreeing to join us today. And what if you're saying, well, what can I do? What can I do to learn more? All those fantastic websites are going to be listed. We've got the Maternal and Infant Health Line, the Australian Breastfeeding Association, the organisations that Maree mentioned, as well as Maree's organisation. So that's a great private service that you can tap into. And you can see all of those details on the www.birthsenseaustralia.com handy contacts page. And once again, Maree, thank you so very much. I know we've shared something today that makes the world for new mums just a little bit better. And thank you to all of you for joining in our chat today. Take care of you and see you soon.